Did you ever see that interview where that bike racer is talking to one of the late night hosts, and they were asking
Veronica
about
Ivy.
biological women?
Come on.
And she's like, "Well, I am a biological human being, and I am a woman, so I'm a biological woman." And the host is just like,
Yep.
like the
Yeah.
fucking cowards. You're not saying anything.
Totally.
None of that seems nuts to you.
Totally. And that's the game that's being played here, right? You
Yeah.
give an inch, they take a mile, which is why I've really realized now like how powerful our language is and the words that we use. Like I'm very particular about what I say. Like I won't call try and just call Thomas. But people can legally change their name and like whatever.
But that's a guy.
But I'm not calling him she. I'm not calling him her.
It's silly.
It's silly. And I won't say trans woman because, again, that's admitting that this is some sort of subcategory of a woman. He's just a man.
The Thais have had it right forever. They don't pretend that they're women. They said, "I'm a lady boy."
I'm a lady boy.
Yeah, and that's like okay. It's like an accepted
it's like,
category.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Transparency. So, yeah. All of that to say, to get back to the very first question,
Right.
never in my short 23 years would I have imagined that it's necessary to take the steps and the actions that we're taking, to even have to define this word woman, right? But we've reached a point now where not only is it necessary, I would argue that it's urgent we define this word. In the nearly 250-ish years we've been established as a country, we have never struggled to define this word.
Right.
Yet here in 2024, we have a sitting Supreme Court justice who can't even answer what a woman is because she claims she's not a biologist.
Right.
Well, guess what? I'm not a veterinarian, but I know what a dog is. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
It's a very dumb conversation.
It is. And so a big piece of what I've been working on, I've been working with Independent Women's Forum to develop and create a new piece of legislation that does just that, define the word woman, and other sex-based terms in statute. It's been passed now in 4 different states, Kansas, Tennessee, Oklahoma, and Nebraska, both Oklahoma and Nebraska by executive order, which in great leadership by Governor Pillen and Governor Stitt of Oklahoma. It's tracking in like 13 different states right now. So, again, all of that to say it's a telltale sign of where we are as a nation when we have to do what we're doing.
Well, it's requiring a lot more pushback than most people are willing to do.
Yeah.
Because the activists on the side of promoting this nonsense are very loud, and they've made it their entire identity to get this across. And they also connect themselves to the idea of this, air quotes, progress being ubiquitous, that it spreads across the country, and that this is for them a sign that the world is moving in the right direction. So they're like vehemently opposed to any pushback against this. They're really aggressive.
They are.
But everyone on the side that's like, this is fucking crazy. Most of those people have jobs and families and obligations, and they're fucking busy. And they do not have time to sit at a council meeting with these fucking lunatics.
12 p.m. on a Monday, right? I know.
And have them scream into microphones, "You're committing trans genocide," and you're like, "Oh, okay. What the fuck? What is this? What is this? And how did this get started?" It's like a zombie disease that made its way across the entire country, and they were like, "Oh, who got bit first?
Exactly.
Can we figure out what the fuck happened here? Who's doing this? How is it possible that anyone with children, anyone who's a father who has daughters, is okay with this? How is that possible?" This is nonsense at the highest level. And even though it's not like close, it's not like, well, I kind of see their point.
No.
It's not even remotely close. And yet it has been taken up by a giant swath of the greatest country the world has ever known. Like, that is very bizarre. What I was going to say earlier is Douglas Murray, who's the British intellectual, he's a brilliant guy. And he said this, and when he started saying it years ago, he's like, whenever a civilization is in collapse, they become obsessed with gender. It becomes a thing. It was with the Greeks and the Romans. It's like, it seems to be like a symptom.
Step in the process.
Yeah, it's a thing like, oh, see those hives that you have? Oh, you're infected. Oh, you're sick. Oh, you're everyone's like changing their gender, and you like 50% of kids in some colleges are LBGTQ2QIAS. What? How is it 50%? This is a fucking mind virus. Like, what is going on here? And what Douglas has said is that this, you could find this throughout history.
Of course. And honestly, if you take all of the different little pieces of what we're seeing, especially as it pertains to like the cultural issues that are really plaguing this country.
Yeah.
Right. If you look at the denial of objective truth, the shift in our language, like we mentioned, the breakdown of faith. We used to be a country that proudly said, "In God we trust," and one nation under God. You look at the breakdown of the nuclear family and really pinning parents and kids against each other. You look at the breakdown of our freedoms, such as the freedom of speech. You look at the propaganda that's being spread through the media. I mean, the list goes on of all of these different little things. If you put them together, it points in one direction. And that direction, not to sound conspiracist or crazy here, is truly Marxism. Or right, like you talk to someone from North Korea, or China, or Germany, or Cuba, or Brazil, or Venezuela, or Russia, or any of these countries that have once embraced this socialist, communist, Marxist regime, and they will tell you that it's a slippery slope. And it's a slippery slope, but by the hands and feet of our own leaders, the people in the White House, we are actively being led down. And like you said, sex, the most basic of truths, the sheer essence of humanity. Hate to break it to you, myself, every single person watching and listening. You're all here for man and woman. And so being asked to deny that is as if we're being asked to deny that the sky is blue, or being told to say 2 + 2 is 5. And if anyone has read 1984 or had a brief understanding of history, like you said, you will understand what it means when we start saying 2 + 2 is 5.